Mr. President, at this juncture, I move that we dispense with the reading of the Journal of the 61st Session, Wednesday, May 6, 2026, and consider the same as approved. Mr. President, before we do that, may we, the gentleman from Cavite, Senator Ping Lacson, is seeking the floor. I move that he be recognized, yes. Mr. President.
Senator Lacson is
Thank you, Mr. President. Before we approve the journal, before we act on the motion of the acting majority leader, I have a parliamentary inquiry. Yesterday, two motions were made. The first one made by Senator Villanueva, citing in contempt of the Senate the NBI agents who allegedly tried to prevent Senator De La Rosa from attending yesterday's session. And the second one, concerning the proposed amendments to the rules a motion made by Senator Marcoleta. On the first motion, Mr. President, I would just like to ask how my vote was counted.
Yeah. Yeah. There was no division of the House.
I have a copy of the TSN of yesterday's session, Mr. President, and it says, which led to the, and I quote, in part, which led to the body's unanimous consent to move that we cite in contempt those individuals running after Senator Ronald Bato de la Rosa. Mr. President, as per our rules, particularly Rule 41, Section 117, it says here, the vote of a senator absent from the session at the Kiko and Senator Mix, we were at the lounge and we were monitoring the proceedings, the ongoing session. And to say that
whoever is present during that time is counted as to have. But if that is the inquiry, so that we can set straight our rules and the record out maybe by Monday. For example, the resolution against the Chinese ambassador, many of us weren't in the session hall. Pero nung sinabing no objection, kinount din lahat. So in many, then let's ask the Committee on Rules, which includes the minority, to come out with a better formulation.
Let it be placed on record, Mr. President, that the NBI agents who grappled with our colleague here. In the first place, Senator De La Rosa is a fellow Cavalier, not to mention a former subordinate in the defunct Presidential Anti-Organized Crime Task Force, and he's a fellow senator.
Yes, that's very,
so, just to
yes, that's very well taken. And for the record, Senator Lacson has always stood up if he thinks that there's a misapplication of the rules. But just on that point of the NBI, I think we're far from going into the whole truth, because early this morning, I think 7 a.m., I was watching the videos. I saw, I do not know whose vehicle it is, but it's a white vehicle with 7. Lumalabas ng Senate, pinipilit ng NBI na ocular inspection at tignan sa loob, which is a violation if you do it anywhere in the country, but right outside our gates. So although we agreed with the NBI director for fact-finding, I think this issue is far from over. So I thank you, Senator Lacson, for making that nuance that you are talking about the rules, not the sentiment of the Senate to protect our integrity.
On the substantive aspect of my manifestation, Mr. President, para lang hindi na maulit, kasi meron tayong jurisprudence, yung Ong, remember Lincoln Ong of the Parmali controversy, GR number 257401. Bago po ito yung leading case, March 2023. Sinabi ng Supreme Court, and I'll just mention the separate concurring opinion of the no less than the Chief Justice, Alex Gesmundo. Sinabi rito, as succinctly pointed out by the Chief Justice, Alexander G. Gesmundo, witnesses who are charged by Congress with giving false or evasive test. This is pertaining to the committee hearings. Pero must be accorded stricter due process. So yung nangyari kahapon, Mr. President, and I was about to ask again, if it was a direct contempt or an indirect contempt. Because if it was an indirect contempt, all the more that they should have been asked to explain first before they were cited in contempt of the Senate and thereafter taken under the custody of the Senate. So procedurally incorrect or infirm yung ating ginawa. Kaya ko lang pino-point out para i-correct lang natin yung ating sarili.
So, the Minority Leader, the former Senate President, first before I comment.
Yes, Mr. President. I yield.
Yes.
All right. Thank you, Mr. President. Do I take it that you mean that the practice that we've had before is that when a vote is taken and no one objects, those who answered the call of the roll are deemed present and are deemed that have approved?
I found out when they voted on the resolution where I interpolated Senator Pangilinan. So I was in my room, not on the floor. And I was explained to me that that's the procedure. So even under your
Correct.
Senate presidency minority leader.
Correct.
So that's why I was answering Senator Lacson that I see his point, but to my knowledge, that is the tradition.
Yes, I agree. As a matter of fact, I agree with what you said in your answer to Senator Lacson. But my point, Mr. President, then in that case, then one of us or I who have voted in favor based on our tradition would like a reconsideration, a motion for reconsideration of the motion to contempt.
To contempt.
Not
So-
because it is, again, like what Senator Lacson mentioned, it's not about, does not have anything to do with the people of the NBI or us or Senator Bato. It's only based on rules.
Yes.
Why? So, can we move for a reconsideration, Mr. President, so I can explain why?
That is your right, Minority Leader.
All right. Thank you,
so
sir.
anyone who on record voted for any motion has the right during the next day, and actually we're in the same session day, within 2 session days, and technically we're in the same session day. So it is your right to move for reconsideration. Then the Majority Leader will either adhere or will object.
All right. Correct. Thank you, Mr. President. Now, here's the point. Based on our rules, the rules of the Senate, and it is consistent with the fact of the contempt of power of the Senate is limited only during inquiries in aid of legislation. This is what the Committee on Rules will have to tackle in that particular motion to sign in contempt anyone from the session hall. The impeachment court is empowered too, but not the Senate. I cannot find it in the rules. No, Section 18 of the Senate Resolution Number 5, the rules of procedure governing inquiries and in aid of legislation, provides that a chairman, with the concurrence of at least one member of the committee, may punish or cite in contempt any witness before a committee who disobeys any order of the committee or refuses to be sworn or testify or for falsely or evasively testifying. Further, as emphasized in this Senate Resolution 145, the power of contempt is inherent to the enforcement of the right to conduct inquiries in aid of legislation. So, in fact, Senate Resolution 237, such power of contempt was delegated to the subcommittees as they comprise the same membership as the main committee and should have the committee's full powers, including the power to cite and punish witnesses in contempt. All right. Now, Senate of the Philippines, the Supreme Court discussed that concomitant to the power of legislature to conduct inquiries in aid of legislation is its power of contempt impliedly provided under the 1987 Constitution. So that is my point, Mr. President. So I think we should not approve the motion to contempt right away without consulting the Committee on Rules to find out whether this is correct or not. That we can only cite in contempt, the Senate can cite in contempt when we are in aid of legislation and we are in a committee. Maybe
Before we have a ruling, let me
Yes.
just expound on the decision yesterday. The chair yesterday mentioned that in several Supreme Court decisions, as early as Arnold versus Nazareno, the Supreme Court upheld the inherent right to self-preservation of the legislative body. And the chair explained that if a committee is given a power to hold in contempt, so much more the plenary. And that there are two kinds of contempt. The indirect contempt and the direct contempt. So for example, if Maria and Pedro were now sitting in the gallery and they started shouting, if the sergeant at arms took them out, but they came back and they started throwing stones, we can hold them, or they had guns, we can send them for inquest, or we can hold them in contempt because it's part of self-preservation. So even in the decision mentioned by Senator Lacson has to deal with the issue at hand. The ratio decidendi, or the reason for the decision, always deals with only the issue at hand. And the issue at hand then was the contempt powers of legislation in aid of legislation. But despite that, still the Supreme Court again said, indeed, the exercise of contempt power by legislature is anchored on self-preservation. And they had a footnote from the previous cases. Having said that, I'd like to ask the pleasure of the minority leader.
Yes.
Would you like to vote on it, or would you like us to send this to the legal and then give them a day or two to, or until Monday
yeah.
to, because the problem
I
with...
was thinking of that, Mr. President,
Yes.
if you don't mind. I'm sorry for
Yes.
interrupting
Go ahead,
you.
sir.
Because the Supreme Court itself laid down the limitations. That's why we have to discuss it perhaps in
Yes.
the committee or
Yes.
the legal. No, the first limitation: the subject hearings were conducted in aid of legislation. 1, 2. Second limitation: the assailed rules are compliant with the publication requirement of Section 21, Article 6 of the 1987 Constitution. And the third limitation is that the committee failed to accord petitioners their constitutional right to due process relative to the conduct of its proceedings. Therefore, we were in plenary session yesterday, and then we were suspended when this event was being discussed. So, again, the pleasure, really, Mr. President, if you do not mind, is that we refer the motion
Yes.
to the Committee on Rules.
We are in agreement, but just to explain, one example I gave yesterday, even if it wasn't in the rules of court, or even if there's no precedent, if we were in the Supreme Court, and while they were in hearing, I ran after or tried to arrest or tried to mug one of the justices, they can hold me in direct contempt because it's really about self-preservation. So the events yesterday was so grave that yes, we need cooler heads because we really have to discuss the problems of agriculture, the problems of the economy, problems of transportation. Naghihirap talaga mga kababayan natin. And of course, we're all aware that the House voted for impeachment yesterday, so we're all preparing for that. But at the same time, we have to show the world, including our local law enforcers, that you cannot play around with the Senate as an institution. And when you're trying to prevent a member from attending, that is direct contempt of the Senate. So I'm in agreement if we can all agree that we send it first to the
Yes.
legal, and maybe we'll invite any legal staff of all the Senate offices so that they can participate there, because it's an issue that so that we won't take one opinion, hook, line, and sinker, but get all the brilliant minds of the offices of the 24 senators, then discuss it. But and we'll hold the reconsideration in abeyance until we have that, if it's acceptable to the former Senate President.
I concur. So I so move, Mr. President.
Thank you very. So, is there any objection to the motion that the ruling, the motion and the ruling to hold in contempt will be now studied referred and studied by our legal department, who will also invite lawyers from each and every OS or Office of the Senators or the 24 senators? If there's none, then
Mr. President, on the second point,
yes.
the second motion made by Senator Marcoleta proposing that Rule 14, Section 41B of the Senate Rules be amended by including a new Section 41C. Now, while I commend the Senate President for deferring action on the motion of the Honorable Marcoleta, but still, we should bear in mind that if we amend our rules, necessarily we should refer it to the Committee on Rules. We cannot just decide in plenary to right there and then amend the rules. If I am correct in that regard, Mr. President.
You're not only correct, that's what happened. I referred it to the
Yes,
Committee
that's
on
why
Rules.
I express my admiration and commendation for the action taken by the Senate President.
Yes.
So we're clear on that.
Yes. My interpretation, Senator Lacson, is that was the intent of Senator Marcoleta. That because the rules is that 1 day for consideration. Yeah, for a motion, it's 1 day. I'll just paraphrase. So my interpretation, of course, I didn't stand up and go near to Senator Marcoleta, but my interpretation was that my understanding is I always have to follow the rules. We always have to follow. So when a senator makes a motion and there is a specific rule, then we will follow. But the Committee on Rules is allowed to meet right away, but that doesn't mean they can meet right away and not follow the 1 day rule.
Yeah. Thank you for the clarification, Mr.
And thank you
President.
for...
That would be all.
Yes. And to be fair to our former Senate President, Mig Subiri, he also made it very clear that our tradition is that if it is amendment of the rules, we consult and then we not only give a copy. So actually the Secretariat rewrote the proposal, and maybe I could just say that all of these were a product of what happened yesterday, no? And of course, most of us had some sleep last night. I don't know Senator Bato if he had good sleep. He told me he was not able to sleep last night, but Senator Padilla, who stayed with him, said you were sleeping very well. So, but maybe cooler heads today, and hopefully we'll get our job done. No? Yeah.
Yes,
Majority Leader.
Yes, Mr.
Thank
President.
you, Senator Lacson.
Thank you, Mr. President, and also just to put on record this representation, when this representation filed that motion, I was actually asking the plenary during that time about the possibility of looking into that particular incident. But anyway, Mr. President, we just also want to put on record that what we are trying to approve, Mr. President, the journal of the 61st session Wednesday was last May 6, Mr. President, not yesterday. So just to put that on record, it's May 6, 2026 was last week, and that is the motion that we are putting.
So any
on the
objection
table.
that we approve the journal of the session of Wednesday, May 6, 2026? If there's no objection or amendments, the motion is approved.
Thank you, Mr. President. And before we proceed, may I just put into the records, Mr. President, our gratitude and thanks for our guests who are here with us, guests of Senator Padilla, the Bangsamoro women from Barangay Maharlika, Taguig City. Mr. President, they are here. Guests of Senator Ontiveros, LGU officials of Bulalakaw, Oriental Mindoro, led by Mayor Lumelito Cabagay. We welcome them in this August chamber, Mr. President.
You're recognized and welcome. No?
Mr. President,
Maybe, Majority Leader, in behalf also of the Senate, I also apologize to those who had to stay longer within the Senate yesterday while we were identifying the agents who ran after Senator Bato. I think even former CHED head Popoy de Vera and many others were here. And Senator Pia also reminded me that there are hearings scheduled. And just to inform the body, the tradition is even if the positions are vacant, you can continue with the scheduled hearings because they are the same members and the chairman is automatically a member. Senator Bam Aquino?
Mr. President, I'd like to clarify. There's a BICAM scheduled for Thursday
Yes.
on the voucher bill, which has been passed on third reading here and in the House. Shall we also continue with the BICAM for the voucher program, Mr.
Yeah,
President?
if there's no objection, I think we should all continue. And in fact, I'm hoping to have a all Senator caucus soon. I just don't know if today or tomorrow to discuss the committees and to even consult the minority even before we offer certain committees. But anything that is pending and should be, I think the only things that are technically on hold is new hearings and the sponsorships on the floor pending designation of chairman.
Thank you. Thank you for the
asking
clarification,
that.
Mr. President.
Mr. President,
Senator
Senator Pangilinan is
Pangilinan.
also seeking the floor.
It's just a clarification as regards the hearings of the committees that can be conducted. When we say we will not be conducting new hearings, does this exclude hearings that were suspended and will just be, under our rules, allowed to resume as the hearings have yet to be terminated?
So the tradition is if there's a vacancy in the chairmanship, there's a vice chairman that takes over. But if the vacancy is in all, the
Which is the case, Mr. President,
yeah,
because
in all, the chairman can continue the hearings that are ongoing.
Okay.
So my interpretation is, let's say you had a hearing today, you conducted it, then you say the next hearing is Monday. But we hope to finish the committees by Monday in consultation with everyone so that hindi nga maipit lahat ng trabaho natin.
so with the understanding, Mr. President, that this suspension of our rules by unanimous consent,
It's not a suspension, it's a tradition that is consistent with the rules. Because when you're chairman, you're automatically still a member of that. Yes. I'm telling you what the Secretariat informed me yesterday because Senator Pia called me and called my attention and told me na presyo ng kuryente yung hearing niya. So unless we designate her again as chairman of energy. So I consulted the secretariat and they mentioned the tradition that you don't have to cancel the hearing.
Just a question, Mr. President.
Yes, Mr.
Thank you.
Independent.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Independent leader, there's two of you.
There's two of us, two independent leaders here. But Mr. President, just a quick question. Yes, because it's a bit confusing to our colleagues when they asked about their committee reports. Some are already supposed to be handled on the floor, the committee hearings, because I can recall that the motion yesterday was all positions vacant. So if it's all positions vacant, that would also mean the memberships,
yes.
Mr. President.
Because that's correct.
Yeah, so I'm just asking for clarification so that we can be guided accordingly. If we do, then we have to reorganize really quickly.
That's why, Mr. President, if I may suggest, by unanimous consent, we can suspend our rules. And I would like to think that would be the better route in terms of allowing hearings to be conducted by former committee chairpersons and former members until Monday, as the Senate President earlier mentioned, that you would have disposed of the issue by Monday.
Yes. I am
Mr.
overwhelmed
President.
by the number of brilliant minds and former Senate Presidents. So with your permission to answer the question, former Senate President Escudero will give
Yes,
his
Mr.
input.
President. To lend some clarity to the issue at hand, I would like to read and spread onto the record Section 19 of our own rules. The chairman and the members of the permanent committee shall commence in the exercise of their duties upon their election. They shall cease when their successors shall have been elected or designated. So my understanding, given the plain meaning of this rule, is that the chairman, although their positions were respectively declared vacant, to avoid a void, shall continue until their successors shall have been designated and/or elected. My understanding further is that should there be any BICAM that needs to be done or finished within this week until their successors shall have been elected, then it should proceed so as not to cause any undue delay without need of suspending the rules, Mr. President. I submit, Mr. President.
Yes.
Again, Mr. President, it's it's the point. Well, the motion yesterday was to declare the positions
Yes.
vacant. So there is no chair, there is no vice chair, there are no members. So how can a committee convene or continue with its proceedings when there is no chairman, there are no members? Members and chairpersons and vice chairpersons are elected.
As a matter of courtesy and tradition,
And that's why, yes,
instead of just saying the name and then replacing the chairman, which happens in certain instances with the permission of the two individuals, when there is a leadership change, usually there's a question of the chairmanship. So there's sometimes a motion to declare all positions vacant. But that is the brilliance of the rules. The rule is very clear. The chairman and the members of the permanent committee shall commence in the exercise of their election of their duties, and they shall cease when their successor have been elected or designated. So out of prudence, usually in controversial hearings and in new bills, etc. So for example, if the divorce bill is very controversial, and let's say Senator Villanueva was hearing it, and then he was replaced, usually he will not call another hearing out of prudence and respect for the body. But let's say he was hearing something about nutrition that everyone accepts, he would probably continue his hearing. But actually, this will all soon be moot and academic because probably by tomorrow and Monday, we will start and finish reading all of the chairmanships. And you usually have to have 3-day notice. So even if you want to have a hearing Monday or Tuesday, you have to have the notice tomorrow. So by Monday, we'll have all of this settled. I just mentioned it because Senator Pia reminded me about her hearing, and then I read some comments about some important matters and the cancellation. No? So it was really meant to address the present situation, maybe today, tomorrow, and Friday, if everyone has the pleasure of hearing on Friday, which includes Senator Bam, napaka-importante matapos natin yung voucher program. No?
Well, Mr. President, if I may suggest, so that we can dispense with this, is let's just suspend the rules with unanimous consent, with the understanding that this is to be a suspension until Monday when the matter has been resolved by the election of new
The problem is if you
chairpersons.
suspend the rule, you'll suspend Section 19, then it will be worse because there'll be no...
Well, Mr. President, the trouble also with Section 19 is that it assumes there is a chairperson and a vice chairperson and members. We already declared all positions vacant. There are no chairpersons today. There are no vice chairpersons today. There are no members of all these committees today. So when you say they shall cease, they meaning as chairperson, as vice chairperson, and as members. But that's not the case. We declared all positions vacant.
Yes, and it is vacant, but they can continue until their successors have been elected. It is taught in law school that when there are rules, you have to interpret it in a logical way that makes it work. So there will be no reason for this rule if, in fact, we did not remove chairman, because then the rule would simply be the vice chairman would take over, the senior member, etc. So actually, this rule takes care of any situation, including, for example, if 3 senators have resigned and have joined the executive department, and then every member from that committee resigned. Then they will continue to be vice chairman and committee members. If it's your pleasure, Senator, and I sort of see your point, but I see the logic of Senator, we can refer it to the Committee on Rules.
Yes, I think that would be better, Mr. President, so that we can get a clear definition or a clear ruling or a recommended ruling from the Committee on Rules and legal interpretation of this particular rule.
Thank you for bringing that up. No?
Thank you,
And
Mr.
at least we'll clear it up so that those who have important hearings will not need to cancel it.
Well,
So-
but just on that point, Mr. President, the reason why I'm raising this is because we do have committee reports that we are ready to submit. And so we would like to be clear as to, can we still submit these committee reports today, tomorrow? Can we still sponsor committee reports that have been submitted tomorrow or maybe even Monday? Because we do have committee reports that we can sponsor.
So, preliminarily, if you follow the rule, Section 19, you can. But prudence, usually, on controversial bills, they do not because the ratio between minority and majority also changes, and sometimes the alignments are ideological, sometimes the alignments are political, sometimes the bill are the same. So it really depends, no?
Yes,
But again, the new majority will endeavor to finish the reorganization latest Monday, no?
Okay, thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Just for the
So
record.
the comments are on the record and referred to the Committee on Rules.
Yes, Mr. President. And just for the record, we were supposed to sponsor two measures on, under the, as chairman of the Committee on Justice, on the citizenships of two, the principal sponsor, Senator Bongo and Senator Pia Cayetano.
Are they here today?
They were here yesterday, but I want to know if we can schedule it
Yes.
tomorrow.
Majority Leader,
Mr. President.
may I request that you discuss with Senator Pangilinan and the two sponsors? Maybe we can accommodate tomorrow.
Because there is a timeline as
Yes.
to the... okay. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you. We will be ready tomorrow. Thank you, Mr. President.
We'll do that, Mr. President, and I hope the real majority leader will be elected soon, Mr. President. Mr. President, at this juncture, and just to
You mean
give
the
our
permanent,
colleagues,
permanent majority leader,
colleagues
not
the opportunity to vote on third reading, Mr. President, may I respectfully move to consider on third reading of bills. Mr. President, the printed copies of these bills were electronically distributed to the members on May 8, 2026 in compliance with the 3-day rule in the Constitution. And so with that, Mr. President, I move to approve on third and final reading Senate Bill number 1894, this bill enhancing the Universal Access to Quality Tertiary Education Act. So move, Mr. President.
Any objection? There being none, consideration of Senate Bill number 1894 on third reading is in order. The Senate Secretary is directed to read the title of the bill and proceed with the voting.
Senate Bill number 1894, an act enhancing the Universal Access to Quality Tertiary Education Act, amending for the purpose of Public Act number 10931. Roll call of members. Senator Aquino. Senator Cayetano Pia. Senator De La Rosa. Senator Ejercito. Senator Escudero. Senator Estrada. Senator Gatchalian. Senator Go. Senator Hontiveros. Senator Lacson. Senator Lapid. Senator Legarda. Senator Marcoleta. Senator Marcos. Senator Padilla. Senator Pangilinan. Senator Soto. Senator Tulfo Erwin. Senator Tulfo Rafi. Senator Villanueva. Senator Villar Camil. Senator Villar Mark. Senator Subiri. Senate President Cayetano Alan.
With 21 affirmative votes, 0 negative vote, 0 abstention, Senate Bill number 1894 is approved on third reading.
Thank you, Mr. President. We congratulate the authors, especially the chairperson of the Senate Committee on Higher and Technical Education, our Senate President Pro Tem, Senator Lauren Legarda.
Those who want to be co-sponsors can just manifest to the majority leader.
I think everyone, Mr. President,
Everyone who's present is already
wanted to be part of this measure.
and when it's unanimous, even those who are not sitting down there are included. So far, no. Those physically present and voted.
Just physically present,
Yes.
Mr.
Upon
President.
clarification of Senator Lacson.
Just
That's a good
physically
clarification.
present. And that is very clear right now. Mr. President, I move that we approve on third reading Senate Bill number 1966. This is the bill institutionalizing the assistance to individuals in crisis situation. I so move, Mr. President.
Any objection? There being none, consideration of Senate Bill number 1966 on third reading is in order. The Senate Secretary is directed to read the title of the bill and proceed with the voting.
Senate Bill number 1966, an act institutionalizing the assistance to individuals in crisis situations program of the Department of Social Welfare and Development, providing penalties for the violation of certain unlawful acts and appropriating funds therefore. Roll call of members. Senator Aquino, Senator Cayetano Pia, Senator De La Rosa, Senator Ejercito, Senator Escudero, Senator Estrada, Senator Gatchalian, Senator Go, Senator Hontiveros, Senator Lacson, Senator Lapid, Senator Legarda, Senator Marcoleta, Senator Marcos, Senator Padilla, Senator Pangilinan, Senator Soto, Senator Tulfo Erwin, Senator Tulfo Rafi, Senator Villanueva, Senator Villar Camil, Senator Villar Mark, Senator Subiri, Senate President Cayetano Alan.
With 22 affirmative votes, 0 negative votes, 0 abstention, Senate Bill number 1966 is approved on third reading.
Thank you, Mr. President. We'd like to congratulate all the authors led by the chairperson of the committee, Senator Erwin Tulfo. Mr. President, the good gentleman is seeking the floor. May
Senator, with the
Mr.
indulgence
President,
of
before
Senator
we
Tulfo.
recognize Senator
Yeah.
Erwin Tulfo, there is a
Just a point of clarification.
there's a
Yes.
point of clarification. Maybe
Senator Lacson
acknowledge
is
that.
recognized.
Yes, I would just like to be clarified, Mr. President. In what capacity is Senator Pangilinan sponsoring a committee report tomorrow? I have a suggestion along that line. Maybe
Yes.
the body can designate him as, in holdover capacity. So he can be, officially
That's a
capacitated.
good suggestion, just to align in pursuant with Section 19.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. So if there are no objections, thank you for the suggestion, Senator Lacson. Senator Erwin Tulfo.
Thank you, Mr. President. Quick manifestation. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, as your outgoing chairperson of the Senate Committee on Social Justice, Welfare, and Rural Development, I wish to place on record my profound gratitude and deep appreciation as this August chamber approves on third reading Senate Bill number 1966 under Committee Report number 46 entitled The Assistance to Individuals in Crisis Situation, or AICS Act. This legislation goes beyond merely institutionalizing assistance. It institutionalizes the spirit of malasakit in public service. More importantly, it affirms our collective duty as a public servant to ensure that in times of hardship and uncertainty, government responds not with indifference, but with urgency, compassion, and decisive action for the welfare of every Filipino. Sa gitna po ng hirap at pangangailangan, hindi dapat pinapabayaan ng ating mga kababayan. Ang tulong ng pamahalaan ay dapat mabilis, maayos at may malasakit. Mr. President, allow me to extend my sincerest gratitude to all the authors who stood behind this measure. Senator Amy Marcos, Senator Christopher Bongo, Senator Jingo Estrada, to Senator Joel Villanueva, who conveyed his intention to be made co-author of this significant bill. Thank you, Madam and Sirs. Your support reflects our shared belief that public service must always put people first. Maraming salamat po sa inyong dedikasyon at tunay na malasakit sa sambayan ng Pilipino. The significance of the AICS program becomes even more evident during periods of national and global uncertainty, when ordinary Filipinos are most vulnerable to the effects of economic disruption, Sa panahon po ng krisis, higit na naramdaman ng ating mga kababayan ang pangangailangan ng agarang tulong at tunay na malasakit mula po sa ating pamahalaan. Amid the recent tensions involving Iran and resulting volatility in global oil prices, assistance mechanism under IX program became an important source of relief for many Filipinos, particularly in transport drivers and operators who bore the heavy burden of rising fuel costs. Sa patuloy na pagtaas ng presyo ng langis, maraming super at operator ang nahirapang maitawid po, Ginoong Pangulo, ang araw-araw na pangangailangan ng kanilang pamilya. Through timely emergency assistance and fuel subsidy interventions, our government was able to provide much-needed relief and help lighten the daily burden of those who, despite rising costs and personal sacrifices, continue to keep our communities connected, our economy moving forward. Sa pamagitan po ng agarang tulong mula sa AIX, na ipapakita po natin na ang pamahalaan may malasakit ay hindi po nagpapabaya, lalo na sa mga manggagawang patuloy na nagsasakripisyo para sa sambayanan. To the committees, technical working groups, partner agencies, and hardworking personnel behind this legislation, we thank you for transforming compassion into concrete action. To my distinguished colleagues, may we continue to craft laws that are not only responsive but humane. Law that recognizes that governance is not merely about programs and budgets, but about people, dignity, and hope. Ang pagpasa po ng AIX Act ay isang matibay na patunay na ang pamahalaan ay may malasakit, ay pamahalaang tunay na kumakalinga, handa lagi umalalay, umunawa at tumugon sa pangangailangan ng bawat Pilipino sa oras po ng kagipitan. Again, Mr. President, to all the authors and supporters of the AIX Act, thank you for your unity, compassion, and unwavering commitment to the Filipino people. We stand united, no matter what political colors we have. There is no crisis too great that we cannot overcome. Muli po, maraming salamat sa aking mga kasamahan, both in the majority and minority, at sa sambayan ng Pilipino. Thank you and good afternoon, Ginoong
Well,
Pangulo.
the Chair recognizes the work of the good Senator in social justice and social welfare. Very well taken ang manifestation, except the part that he said he will be leaving the committee. We're not yet that sure, as we recognize your work in that committee. Thank you for your manifestation. Senator,
Mr. President, next to explain her vote, especially on Senate Bill number 1894, is the distinguished lady from Antique, the chairperson of the Senate Committee on Higher and Technical Education, Senator Lauren Legarda. I move that she be recognized, Mr. President.
Mr. President, esteemed colleagues, I would like to thank all our colleagues in the unanimous vote on the free tertiary education amendments. And we know that this measure strengthens RA 10931 and ensures the promise of free and equitable tertiary education, that it truly reaches the poorest Filipino families. EDCOM 2 revealed stark gaps in the implementation of student assistance programs. Many of our most vulnerable learners continue to struggle with the rising cost of transportation, food, housing, and school requirements despite existing support mechanisms. This bill ensures that limited government resources are directed first to those who need them most, aligns allocation strictly with household income, guarantees timely inflation-adjusted support, and demands accountability for the use of public funds. Ang edukasyon ay hindi lang dapat libre, dapat ito'y makabuluhan at nagubungan ng tunay na oportunidad mula enrollment hanggang graduation at trabaho. This measure is for our students, especially the poorest, who now know that the government stands behind their dreams. Dapat laging patas ang pagbibigay ng pagkakataon sa bawat batang Pilipino na nangangarap. I would like to thank my fellow EDCOM 2 commissioners, Senator Bam Aquino, Senator Joel Villanueva, Senator Sherwin Gatchalian, Senator Alan Peter Cayetano, now Senate President, as well as Senator Pia Cayetano, Senator Christopher Lawrence Go, Senator Francis Escudero, Senator Jinggoy Ejercito Estrada, Senator Risa Ontiveros, Senator J.V. Ejercito, Senator Rafi Tulfo, Senator Robin Padilla, and Senator Kiko Pangilinan for your steadfast support. I express my deep gratitude to all who joined in advancing this measure. And just to take note that the House of Representatives had already passed this measure on third reading. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. President. Before I ask for this representation's recognition, Mr. President, our dear colleague, Senator Risa Ontiveros, is seeking the floor. May I move that she be recognized, Mr. President?
Yeah, Senator Ontiveros is recognized. And we thank Senator Legarda for her explanation of the vote.
Salamat po, Mr. President. Inquiry, Mr. President, in line dun sa action ng body natin regarding Senator Pangilinan on the suggestion of Senator Lacson. Two inquiries, Mr. President. For clarity, Mr. President, dahil this representation is the former chair of the Senate Committee on Women and also former chair of the Senate Committee on Health. Kanina po kasi ang conversation nga ay tungkol sa committee hearings for bills that are ready for amendments on the floor. Halimbawa itong apat, Mr. President. So, ang unang inquiry ko po, would I still be allowed to introduce the amendments as former chair in relation po to the action of the body on holdover capacity of Senator Pangilinan in his former committee, Mr. President?
So as to introducing individual amendments as a senator, of course, that's always your right. But as to sponsoring, the majority leader and myself will be discussing all the pending bills on the floor when we go in caucus right after this, and we hope to ask for a all-member caucus by tomorrow to discuss that, but also to discuss the articles of impeachment.
Salamat, Mr. President, and this representation anticipates the response of the Senate President and the Majority Leader. Just to add one detail on the anti-hospital detention bill, ang particular status po niyan, Mr. President, is babasahin na lang yung amendments. Okay. And then, pending the decision of the body, pwede na pong i-close on second reading. Second and last inquiry for now, Mr. President, regarding the bills that are for interpellation, because lastly, this representation is also former chair of the Senate Committee on Electoral Reforms. Bills, Mr. President, like the party list reform, the anti-political dynasty bill, and then also within the Committee on Health, the UHC Medical Assistance Program, and the Healthcare Proxy Act. So again, Mr. President, should this representation continue to sponsor and defend them on the floor, or is it correct that the leadership change has prevented this, Mr. President?
Same answer, and to be completely honest, because Senator Villanueva has not accepted the position of majority floor leader, so I cannot assign him to go to the former chairpersons to get their pleasure yet, because he has only agreed to be acting floor leader. But after our caucus this afternoon, tomorrow, we should have a regular, not real, a permanent majority leader, at least until the body would like to pick someone else. No?
Okay. Maraming salamat, Mr. President, and I know
also
that
the chair would like to thank you for your work on the Committee on Health.
Thank you, Mr. President. And this representation knows that the Senate President is also keenly aware kung ganong katagal at katinding iniintay itong mga bills ng mga iba't ibang stakeholders at partners ng Senado, including mga children's rights advocates, syempre yung mga lahat ng pasyenteng Pilipino at mga pamilya po nila, yung ating mga barangay health workers, yung mga political reform advocates, among others, Mr. President. Salamat po, Mr. President.
Just for the answer regarding your query as far as the rules are concerned, because the author of the bill can also sponsor, a member of the committee can also sponsor, and the former chair is a member of the committee. So technically, you can. So it's just a matter of the majority leader and the new majority would like that on the floor at the moment. And again, I thank you. I thank Senator Pia, Senator Loren, Senator Bongo on your work on the Committee on Health. I was informed recently, hindi na naman nabid or hindi pa nabibid at 2 weeks ago yung flu vaccines. And meron dalawang hemisphere yan southern and northern. No? Yung sa atin, patapos na or tapos na by now? Patapos na ata. hindi pa rin nabibid. So we really need the Department of Health to shape up. No, and your work during your term as chairman of the Committee on Health is appreciated. Thank you.
Mr. President, Senator Mark Villar is also seeking the floor to explain his vote. I move that he be recognized, Mr. President.
Senator Mark Villar is recognized.
Mr. President, allow me to explain my yes vote and my unyielding support for Senate Bill number 1894, or the Act Enhancing the Universal Access to Quality Tertiary Education Act. Mr. President, Republic Act number 10931, or the Universal Access to Quality Tertiary Education Act, was enacted to provide adequate funding and similar mechanisms to increase the participation rate among all socio-economic classes in tertiary education. While the law provides for free tuition, it does not cover the incidental expenses of studying and going to school in college. Mr. President, maraming kabataang Pilipino ang gusto makapagtapos ng kolehiyo, ngunit walang sapat na pinansyal na kakayahan upang tustusan ang pang-araw-araw na gastusin sa eskwelahan. Bagaman libre ang tuition fee, mahirap para sa ilan nating mga kababayan ang tiyakin na mayroon silang gagastusin sa pamasahe at pagkain pagpasok sa eskwelahan. Kung kaya, Mr. President, napipilitan ng marami na tumigil sa pag-aaral para magtrabaho upang tustusan ang pang-araw-araw na gastusin ng sarili at ng kanilang pamilya. Sa pag-aproba natin ng panukalang ito, wala nang estudyante ang mapipilitang magtrabaho upang tustusan ang kanilang pag-aaral. Posible na makapag-focus na sila sa kanilang pag-aaral at hindi na iisipin kung saan kukunin ang panggastos. Mr. President, this bill will narrow the gap between the objectives of the free tertiary education law and the glaring realities on the ground faced by the underprivileged and marginalized. Again, I would like to thank the distinguished lady from Antique, Senator Loren Legarda, for shepherding this bill, and of course, Senator Bam Aquino for initially championing this measure in these very halls. With the indulgence of the good sponsor, again, you mentioned it earlier, but I'd just like to reiterate that I would also like to be made a co-author of this bill. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you,
Thank you
Senator
very much,
Villar.
Senator Villar.
May I be allowed, Mr. President, just to give a very short explanation on this particular measure, because this is also our pet bill, Mr. President.
If you accept the position of Majority Leader, then you can proceed.
Thank you for being considerate, Mr. President. Mr. President, we vote yes on the proposed amendments to the Universal Access to Quality Tertiary Education Act. When we enacted, Mr. President, this RA 10931 during the 17th Congress, we opened the doors of higher education to millions of young Filipinos. But as the findings of EDCOM 2 have shown, access alone is not enough. Many students continue to face learning gaps, financial pressures, and other barriers that prevent them from completing their education. Now, through the work of EDCOM 2, particularly, Mr. President, in our role as chairperson of the Standing Committee on Technical Vocational Education and Training and Lifelong Learning, we have seen the urgent need to strengthen support systems for learners and make our education system more responsive to present realities. These amendments move us closer to that goal by improving the delivery and targeting of tertiary education support and ensuring that more students are not able to enter school but also complete their education successfully. Kaya, Ginoong Pangulo, hindi lamang po ito usapin ng libreng matrikula, ito po ay usapin ng tunay na oportunidad at mas magandang kinabukasan para sa ating mga kabataan. Muli, binabati natin si Senator Loren Legarda for sponsoring and defending this measure and our co-authors. For these reasons, Mr. President, and as author and co-sponsor of this measure, we reiterate our yes vote. Itaas po natin ang antas ng edukasyon sa Pilipinas. Maraming salamat po and may God bless us all. Thank you. Mr. President, Senator Risa Ontiveros is seeking the floor. I move that she be recognized.
Thank you, Majority Leader, for your explanation of vote. Senator Risa Ontiveros.
Salamat po, Mr. President. Mr. President, I vote yes to the Enhancing the Universal Access to Quality Tertiary Education Act. The Free Higher Education Law transformed millions of lives, but Delays in subsidies and funding gaps have failed many students and strained our SUCs and LUCs. Since 2022, my office has received complaints from students whose tertiary education subsidy arrived late or never arrived at all. Some were forced to stop schooling because they could no longer afford to stay enrolled. Hindi dapat pinapabayaan ang mga estudyanteng nagsisikap makapagtapos. This measure strengthens accountability. It requires UNIFAS to improve and speed up subsidy disbursement and establishes an accessible grievance mechanism so students can report problems and seek redress. Importante rin na sa wakas, prioridad na ang mga pinakamahihirap, lalo na ang mga pamilyang kabilang sa 4Ps. Pinalalawak din ito ang oportunidad para sa mga solo parents at persons with disabilities. Matagal nang sinasalo ng ating state universities and colleges ang kakulangan sa pondo para sa free higher education. Dahil dito, napipilitan silang bawasan ang ibang mahahalagang gastusin at tumanggi sa mga kwalipikadong estudyante. Tinutugunan ng panukalang ito ang problemang iyon sa pamamagitan ng paggarantya ng funding deficiencies sa susunod na GAA. Kung seryoso tayo sa tunay na universal access to education, kailangan nating siguraduhin na walang estudyante ang naiiwan at walang paaralan ang napapabayaan. I vote yes. Salamat po, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Tiveros.
Mr. President, Senator Ligarda is seeking the floor. I move that she be recognized, Mr. President.
The Senate President pro tempore, Senator Legarda, is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Distinguished colleagues, ang AIX ay isa sa pinakamahalagang tulong ng pamahalaan para sa mga Pilipinong biglaang nahaharap sa krisis, pagkakasakit, aksidente, pagkamatay ng mahal sa buhay, pagkasunog, pagkawala ng hanap buhay, at maraming iba pang matinding pangangailangan. Sa pamamagitan ng panukalang ito, binibigyan natin ng AIX ng malinaw at permanenteng batayang legal. Hindi na lamang ito aasa sa mga issuances at taunang pondo, magkakaroon na ito ng malinaw na mandato, mas maayos na sistema, mas matibay na pananagutan. Mahalaga ring maipasok natin ang mga amyenda upang mas malinaw ang data, mga privacy safeguards, mga maayos ang koordinasyon sa LGUs at mas malinaw ang ugnayan ng AIX medical assistance sa iba pang health assistance programs ng ating pamahalaan. Pinatitibay din ng panukala ang mga pananggalang laban sa pang-aabuso, sa pamumulitika, sa katiwalian, panggigipit sa mga benepisyaryo. Ang ayuda ay dapat makakarating sa nangangailangan, hindi sa pamamagitan ng palakasan, padrino o politika. Mr. President, sa oras ng krisis, ang tulong ay dapat mabilis, patas, may malasakit. Para sa ating mga kababayang nasa kagipitan ng bawat araw ng paghihintay ay dagdag na pasanin. Kaya ako po'y nagpapasalamat kay Senator Erwin Tulfo na binigyan niya ito ng prioridad at ito ay magiging permanente ng batas at hindi na tayo aasa lamang taon-taon kung anong ilalagay ng ating pamahalaan. Dahil po dito, buwaboto ako ng oo sa panukalang institutionalization of the AIX program. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Legarda.
Mr. President,
Majority Leader.
Senator Bongo wishes to explain his vote. I move that he be recognized, Mr. President.
The Chair recognizes Senator Bongo.
Mr. President, I rise to explain my yes vote on Senate Bill 1894, a measure that seeks to amend Republic Act Number 10931 or the Universal Access to Quality Tertiary Education. Ito po yung final ko naman po ay Expanded Free Tertiary Education. Ngayon po ay pinangalanan na po ito na an act enhancing the Universal Access to Quality Tertiary Education Act, amending for the purpose Republic Act Number 10931. Kahit bago pa po ako naging senador, I have been a strong advocate for education at ako po'y naniniwala ng edukasyon po'y pundasyon ng bawat kabataan at dala-dala nila ito hanggang sa kanilang pagtanda. At naniniwala po ako na ang kabataan po ang kinabukasan ng ating bayan. Noong 2017, nilagdaan po ni former President Rodrigo Duterte ang Republic Act number 10931. Naging libre po ang tuition sa ating mga state universities and colleges. Isa itong makasaysayang hakbang tungo sa mas pantay na oportunidad at mas maayos na kinabukasan para sa kabataang Pilipino. We thank the champions of this law in the 17th Congress, headed by the principal sponsor, Senator Bam Makino, who fought it to make it possible, Senator Mig Subiri, na pinaglaban rin po ito, marami pa iba, then Senate President Tito Soto, mga kasamahan natin na dito, Senator Lacson, Senator Riza. Hindi pa po ako senador nito noon. Senator Kiko Pangilinan, Senator Gatchalian, Senator Estrada, sino pa ba? Hindi, Senator JB Ejercito, Senator Ligarda, Senator Pia Cayetano. Marami pong nakipaglaban during the 17th Congress. But during cabinet deliberations, talagang meron pong kumukontra dyan ng mga finance managers. At they recommended sa presidente na i-veto po ito dahil karagdagang gasto sa gobyerno. Concerns were raised by economic managers regarding its fiscal impact. But we stood firm in our belief that free education is an investment in the future of our nation. Muntik na po itong mabito. Alam po ni Chairman Popoy de Vera yan. Ngunit nung panahon po na bilang Special Assistant to the President po ako noon, hinikayat natin ang CHED na ipaglaban at ipaliwanag ang kahalagahan ng panukalang ito. Last minute po ito na sumulat ang ating CHED Chairperson Popoy de Vera. Sabi ko, sumulat ka kay then President Duterte at makiusap ka. At dinala natin ito sa kanya. And we are grateful na nagbago po ang isip ng Executive Department. And we are grateful to former President Duterte na finally pinirmahan po niya. Dahil sabi niya, sa Davao nga po, merong free education doon. At meron siya mga scholarships program po doon kahit na maliliit. Sabi niya, mas gusto ko sa buong Pilipinas po ito mangyayari. Finally, the rest is history at naging batas po ito. Even with the Republic Act 10931 in place, we recognize many challenges in accessing education. Kaya naman po, napakahalaga ng panukalang batas na ito. We thank the sponsor, Senator Loren Ligarda, for championing this measure. Mr. President, sa panukalang ito, bago ko makalimutan, si Senator Alan, nung panahon, membro po siya ng 17th Congress noon, na I'm sure sinuportahan niya rin po ito, but naging Secretary of Foreign Affairs kayata nung mga panahon yun. I don't know kung senator ka pa during that time, but membro ka po ng 17th Congress at I'm sure pinaglaban mo rin po ito. Sa panukalang ito, Mr. President, hangad natin na mabigyan ng tertiary education subsidy ang mga indigent patients. Ibig sabihin, expanded, may pagpipilian sila. Yung mga lugar na walang yung kurso na ino-offer ay hindi nila ma-avail, ay pwede itong ma-avail po sa mga private universities. Hindi lamang po ito sa mga public colleges and universities. Maaari rin po itong gamitin sa private higher education institutions, lalo na kung walang available na pampublikong paaralan sa kanilang lugar. At naniniwala po ako na ang access sa education ay susi sa mas maliwanag na kinabukasan para sa ating mga kabataan. For these reasons, I am putting on record my yes vote for the passage of this very important education measure. Salamat, Mr. President. And likewise, as one of the authors of Senate Bill number 1966, which seeks to institutionalize the assistance to individual in crisis situations. Ito po yung AIX, kilalang-kilala po ito na programa ng DSWD. I want to manifest my yes vote to the measure. Sa pag-ikot ko po sa buong bansa, I have seen families who have lost everything, homes, livelihoods, and in some cases, hope. Ang AIX ay matagal nang nagsisilbing lifeline ng ating mga mahihirap na kababayan, lalong-lalo na po sa panahong sila ay naharap sa biglaang krisis tulad ng sakuna, sunog, pagkakasakit, pagkamatay ng mahal sa buhay, aksidente at iba pang hindi inaasahang pangyayari. by institutionalizing AIX, we guarantee its continuity and enhance its ability to adapt and respond to the growing needs of our communities. Sana po wag lang gamitin sa politika ang AIX at dapat po gamitin ito sa mga mahirap nating kababayan. Klarong-klaro naman po ang AIX. Assistance to individuals in crisis situations. Ibig sabihin, yung mga mahihirap talaga. At wag sana gamitin sa pamumulitika ang ayuda at tulong sa ating mga kababayan. We congratulate and thank the sponsor, Senator Erwin Tulfo, for prioritizing this measure. With this bill, we affirm to the Filipino people that in times of crisis, the government stands ready to extend a helping hand. Maraming salamat po, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Bongo. Just on your point na sana wag magamit sa politika, and for the information of the public who have a keen eye on the Senate, actually maganda na carry over yung amendment ni Senator Lacson sa 2026 budget, yung prohibition on political involvement in the distribution of cash and other forms of financial assistance is in Section 18. Sa Section 19 naman, prohibition on the display and or a fixture of the name, image, likeness of public officials. So yung suggestion ni Senator Lacson na kineri ng body nung sa 2026 budget, nandito. Tapos may Section 20, unlawful acts. Unfortunately, ang Section 18 and 19, walang penal clause. Ang Section 20 may penal clause may penalties under Section 21. That's why if you noticed, nung nagsimula yung Iran-Israel-US war, parang may bumalik na mga logos at saka mga streamers, posters, tarpaulins na may mga muka sa ilan mga distribution. So baka pwede nating ipaalala sa lahat na the spirit of the law, kahit wala tong criminal penalties, is maybe I can use the word partisan-free. Diba? Dapat non-partisan ang pagbibigay ng ayuda.
Mr. President, nalimutan ko lang po kanina. Salamat rin kay Senator Chis Escudero, Senator Angara, Senator Grace, and Senator Nancy Binay. And of course, headed by our Finance Chair, Senator Loren Legarda, Senator Pia, na pinaglaban po itong free tertiary education. Salamat po, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Bongo.
Mr. President, before we recognize Senator Marcoleta to explain his vote, I think the chairperson of the committee, Senator Erwin Tulfo, would just like to put into the record some of the matters that is part of what has been discussed on the floor.
Senator Tulfo has both the legislative acumen, but also he served as secretary, so he knows the practical side of all of this.
Thank you,
Senator Tulfo,
Mr. President, our new majority floor leader. Nais ko lamang pong sabihin po, maraming salamat po sa pagpapaalala na doon po sa clause section 18 at 19, wala pong penalty po doon. Pagkos yan po ay plano namin na ilalagay po natin sa BICAM. Pag nagkaroon po ng BICAM na, lalagyan po natin ng penalty po yan. Maraming salamat po, Ginoong Pangulo, for that reminder.
Mr. President, I move that we recognize Senator Rodante Marcoleta for his explanation of votes. So move, Mr. President.
And just a point kay Senator Tulfo, and it can be administrative dahil public officials naman ito, or it may be grounds for disqualification if they are a candidate. So thank you for your work, Senator Tulfo. Senator Marcoleta, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I voted yes in relation to Senate Bill 1966. In doing so, Mr. President, I'm also conscious of the fact that I hope we will find a more equitable way of intervention, socioeconomic intervention to the marginalized and the poorest of the poor. Kasi po, alam ko po yung AIX, while it serves as one of the interventions sa mga people in crisis situation, Mr. President. Ang dami po kasing problema associated with it. Nandun po yung mga inclusive errors, nandyan po yung mga exclusive errors. Kuminsan po yung mga listahan, kinakailangang i-purge pa para makita natin na talagang didiretso po talaga doon sa nangangailangan. And I'm also conscious of the fact, Mr. President, that this representation has filed Senate Bill number 63, raising the coverage of the lifeline rate subsidy programs for marginalized households. Sa akin po kasing palagay, Mr. President, ito po ay, sa tingin ko lamang po ay mas mabisa sapagkat this is more equitable and it is a method by which our poorest of the poor will be targeted. Ito pong bill na ito ay tinatarget po about 5 million poor families, ranging between 25 to 27 million poor Filipinos. Ano pong initial po naming deliberation sa Energy Committee ng ating kasama, Senator Pia, miski siya po nabigla na yun pong 50 kilowatt per hour targeted, dire-diretso pong pupunta sa households, wala pong corruption dahil dumidiretso nga at wala na pong EPAL. Kaya, Mr. President, bumoto po ako dito sa AIX. Tama po naman yun at kailangan din. With the hope that later on we will find a better, much better, more equitable methodology to target the needy parts of our population. Salamat po, Mr. President.
The Chair agrees with you, Senator Marcoleta. There's a balance between ayuda, the financing or capitalization of micro, small, medium enterprise, between the social interventions to the poorest of the poor. We should also look at, for example, free internet for the poorest of the poor, di ba? Kasi pareho na rin ngayon ang internet sa tubig at kuryente. Pagka ang bata walang internet tapos online yung classes, parang hindi na rin nag-aral yung bata. Thank you for your interventions, Senator Marcoleta.
Yes, Mr. President. Mr. President, the gentleman from Nueva Ecija in Bicol region, Senator Robin Hood Padilla, is seeking the floor. I move that he be recognized, Mr. President.
You're recognized, Brother Robin. Assalamualaikum, and thank you for coming in a very beautiful barong today.
Maraming salamat po, Ginoong Pangulo. Walaikum salam. Ako po ay nandito sa inyo pong harapan. Ginoong Pangulo, ako po ay gusto ko lamang pong linawin ang ilang mga bagay patungkol po sa napakarami pong lumalabas ngayon. Iba't ibang komento, iba't ibang opinyon na parang ang dating sa taong bayan ay magulo tayo dito. Yun po ay hindi magandang impresyon. Sapagkat yung pong nangyari na ang ating mahal na kasama, Senator De La Rosa, noong siya po ay lumabas dito sa atin, malinaw na po na merong warrant of arrest galing sa ICC. Kung nung mga panahon po dati ay kine-question siya, tinatanong siya kung bakit siya nagtago. Ngayon po ay wala ng question. Ako po ay nagsasalita bilang isang artista. Sapagkat Ginawa ko na po ang mga buhay ng mga magagaling na tao. Katulad po, nung ginawa ko ang buhay ni Senator Lacson, yung 10,000 hours, pati po yung kanyang pagtatago, yun po ay sa kadahilan ng may prinsipyo siyang pinaglalaban. At ganoon din po, nung ginawa ko ang buhay ni Senator Bato de la Rosa, may pinaglalaban na prinsipyo itong taong ito. Hindi siya kriminal. Ang napakapangit po na impresyon na binibigay, parang tayo dito sa Senado ay nagtatago tayo ng kriminal. Wala pa pong kriminal dito. Wala pa pong napapatunayan dito. At higit sa lahat, Ginoong Pangulo, ngayon lang po natin napatunayan na tama ang sinasabi ng ating mahal na kasama na may warrant of arrest sa kanya ang ICC. Kaya dito po sana, Ginoong Pangulo, nabubura na yung sinasabi na siya'y nagtatago ng walang dahilan. Yun po yung sana ang maging maliwanag sa taong bayan na meron din po tayong adopted Senate resolution. Ito po yung number 44 na malinaw po doon sa resolution na ito expressing the sense of the Senate of the Philippines to protect all Filipinos against extrajudicial rendition and guarantee then a reasonable time prior to their surrender by extradition from the Philippines to seek redress from the courts and avail of legal remedies. So wala po tayong ginagawang kaimposiblihan dito dahil sinusunod po natin ang resolution natin. Dahil siya po, inaasahan natin at meron din po siyang pending na TRO sa Supreme Court. Ginoong Pangulo, sana wag po tayong magkaroon ng mga mixed messages dito. Hindi ko po hinihingi doon sa ating mga kasama na bumoto ng no dito sa resolution nito na pumanig kay Senator De La Rosa. Pero sana naman, huwag pong idamay ang buong Senado kapag sinasabi na tayo'y magulo, tayo'y katawa-tawa. Dahil tayo naman po ay nasa katwiran. Kung hindi tayo nagkakaintindihan sa katwiran, huwag tayong magsiraan. Dahil tayo naman po sumusuporta kapag tama naman at hindi naman patungkol sa ating bulwagan. Pero pagkatungkol sa ating bulwagan na ang pinag-uusapan, huwag po sana tayong magsiraan. Ito pong pagkakataon nito, Ginoong Pangulo, sana'y maging masaya tayo na nandito na ang ating kasama. Na kahit pinaghahabol, diyan, ay pumunta dito at ipinakitang siya ay isang senador. Nung siya ay wala dito, hinahanap. Nung dumating, tatanungin natin, bakit siya nandito? Pambihirang buhay ito. Sana, mga mahal kong kasama, bagamat tayo ay magkakaiba ng kulay sa politika, pagdating dito sa ating bulwagan, proteksyonan natin ang Senado. Hindi dapat pinapayagan natin sa labas ng gate natin, may nagche-checkpoint. Mahal na Ginoong Pangulo, maraming salamat po. Wala kaming tulog. Pasensya na kayo.
I will refer the manifestation of the Honorable Senator Robin to the Padilla to the Committee on Rules and Public Order. But before that, may I make 3 points of information for all of us. Before that, an appeal sa lahat ng naka-video kagabi, whether dito sa labas ng session hall, whether dyan sa baba, dun sa ginulpi na member ng ating Office of the Sergeant of Arms, or dun sa labas, please volunteer and submit your video because we agreed with the NBI that they will conduct a fact-finding. The Senate will also conduct a fact-finding. And the NBI director promised us that if any of his agents exceeded their authority, they will be dealt with by law, whether administrative or criminal charges. I'll just finish, Senator Subirmay. So his report was that nangharas daw yung usaha, but when I showed him the video, he was also surprised. But of course, there are many videos. So that's my first point. that in reaction to what you said, iba yung magulo Senate, iba yung ginugulo ang Senate. Di ba? Kahit sinong tahimik, pag ginulo, magmumukhang magulo. But today shows you na walang gulo. Number 3, I think that is the inherent weakness of social media versus news. Legitimate, I will not use legitimate because everything is legitimate no matter what the platform. But what I'm saying is that when people cut interviews, so for example, I think Senator Trillanes said, anong pinagsasabi ng mga senador, including myself, he gave up. But if you look at my whole interview, ang sinabi ko, ang naging tradisyon at nirerespeto to ng kahit na pinaka mabibigat or pinaka mga administrasyon na inaccuse ng paggamit ng kamay na bakal, ay nagko-coordinate first bago nila i-serve ang warrant dito. Number 2, we allow the senator to exhaust all legal remedies. And number 3, in the case of Senator Bato, it has to be a warrant issued by a Philippine judge in a Philippine court. And still, he has to be given the right to exhaust all his legal remedies. And then, ang tradition nun is that kinakausap ang senador pagka wala ng legal remedy na respetuhin din ang sarili niyang institusyon, ang Senado, by giving up. Which yun po ang ginawa ni Senator Trillanes at Senator De Lima, pero mukhang meron silang selective amnesia. Nabura yung part where they sought the protection of the Senate, nandun na sila sa pag-surrender. Secondly, lastly, nire-iterate ng NBI na pinayagan silang pumasok, pero sabi ko, siguro naman kahit pinayagan kayo pumasok, walang pumayag na makipaghabulan kayo sa isang senador. So sabi niya, yan daw ang standard pagka ang isang inaaresto ay tumakbo. Ngayon, ang sabi naman namin, look at it from our point of view. May session, we were in session, alam niyong kailangan yung boto niya, tapos hahabulin niyo para hindi makapasok ng session. So, mahaba yung usapan, no? But we and Senator Aimee, Senator Pia, Senator Loren were the voices of the institution yesterday. No, I played more of a diplomat mediator role so that we can get to that. So now that they're doing their investigation, I hope the Committee on Rules, Committee on Public Order, or if you refer it to if the pleasure of the body is the Committee on Justice or Rules instead of Public Order, we will get to it soon. But today proves that hindi tayo magulo. Pag hindi tayo ginugulo, hindi tayo magulo. Diba? Senator Zubiri? Yes.
Yes, Mr. President.
Senator
Senator Zubiri and then Senator Marcoleta, Mr. President.
Very quick, Mr. President. Mr.
And then
President, just very
Senator
quick, just to add to the discussion, to weigh in the discussion. Yung nangyari po sa ating OSA yesterday's is, I would say, not just a very sad but tragic experience for OSA. I think I'm looking for the right word. Hindi ko lang masabi na hindi ko babastusin yung NBI.
Outraged talaga. Outraged.
We're outraged. Thank you, Senate President, for helping me. That we were outraged. He did not deserve that. Ginagawa lang po niya ang tungkulin niya, trabaho niya bilang empleyado at OSA ng ating Senado. There should have been more proper restraint on the part of the enforcement agency. And I commensurate to our staff na low moral yung ating mga usahay kahapon. We must stand by them because these are the people that will give their lives for us if there's anything that will happen in this building. And we should also be ready to give our lives for them, Mr. President. Kawawang-kawawa sila. Kaya I condemn what had happened to our OSA staff and to all the ruckus that they had created inside the Senate building. Mr. President. Tama po kayo. There's always been decorum when these things have happened. It's happened before. We were together when Senator Laila de Lima was arrested here in the Senate. There was, but they served the warrant here initially and she had asked if she could be served in her home so she could go home and greet her children and say goodbye to her children. So there's a proper decorum, Mr. President.
Former Senate President, that's exactly what I said. You could have allowed him in the session hall, then informed either the Senate President, the OSAA, or the Secretary of the Senate that there's an arrest warrant. We could have suspended or discussed with you. But instead, you wanted to nab him right before entering. No? So there was much discussion on that, but thank you
Yes.
for your
No,
expression.
we want to
support.
tell the staff, those that are here today, that we are with them 1,000%. We are with you 1,000%. And if that had happened, that I was around, makipagsuntukan din ako sa kanila, bahala na. Di ba? So, ang akin lang is, Mr. President, may I move, with the permission of the body, that the Senate shoulders medical expenses, Mr. President. Kasi may, na hospital siya, Mr. President. Yes.
Mr. President,
Thank you, Mr. President.
if I may, with the indulgence of the good
Senator
former
Legarda,
Senate
yes.
President Miggs, yes. It was with Senator Pia Cayetano that we went to the clinic yesterday and we saw Terence Lim, the OSAA. I will not give the details on which hospital, but he was being checked by our medical doctor. And because there was supposedly a hematoma and we saw his physical condition, so we asked for an ambulance, Senator Pia and I, and he is in a private hospital now. I'm covering personally his expenses because his medical card in the Senate would not cover the private doctors and consultations expense, the CT scan and all that. And because there is a supposed hematoma, and it's not just, I thought there was just going to be a checkup, but there was a need for a minimum of 3 days stay to check his condition because it's not as simple as that could have been dealt with in a medical clinic. All I can say was we were shocked. Senator Pia would probably be able to explain this. I could not explain how that actually could happen at the gates of the Senate. It's something you see in the movies. It's shocking. When Senator Subidi said, baka makipagsuntukan siya, I don't think you meant that literally. You meant it figuratively to show your outrage, to show. Yes, no, I would like to, because we're not supposed, dapat hindi nagsusuntukan dito, di ba? Pero when I asked also the other OSAA this morning, why did you not come to his rescue? Because the video that Senator Pia showed me was Terence Lim on the ground being mauled by big, burly men and people watching him. So I asked, ba't hindi niyo tinulungan? I cannot give it the details for a fact. The spot report will explain why. They told me what happened. I cannot put it on record unless I have first-hand knowledge. But it shocked me when the OSAA gave me the information today. I don't want to say it because I don't have first-hand knowledge. The spot report will explain. All I can say is that on the humanitarian side, we brought him through ambulance, and my staff, I thank her. I have a caregiver, nurse ba siya, isang staff na pinasamahan ko hanggang midnight magkasama hanggang dumating yung asawa. And then maybe Senator Pia can explain that further. Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. President.
Senator, former Senate President Soto.
Thank you. Mr. President, may I be allowed to lay to rest this particular issue as far as I'm concerned? Because I have been mentioned in media by members of the Senate that as Senate President daw, pinayagan ko daw yung word na ginamit is pinayagan ko daw yung NBI na pumasok dito. May sinasabi nagpakain pa yung mga ganon. Let the records, speak for itself. Ito muna sa akin, Mr. President. Early in the morning, an NBI representative came to see me and told me they have a warrant of arrest for Senator De La Rosa. I said, simply, I said, coordinate with OSA. As simple as that. Why? I didn't realize that he was coming. I didn't know that he was going to be there in the afternoon. I just thought it was a simple information given the Senate President that a member of the Senate was being issued a warrant of arrest. It was simple as that. Yeah. Kaya, hindi pa pwede, little did I know that, Senator De La Rosa, after 7 months of not being here, will suddenly come. Kaya ganun kasimple lang yung sinabi ko. Coordinate with the OSA. So put that to rest. Baka ang iniisip kasi, ang narinig ko, sa intindi ko, pati ang tanong ng media sa akin, pinayagan ko lang lahat yan nangyari na yan. Kung saan sinasabi ganun eh. If I had known that he was coming, if you informed me that he was coming, I would have had a different perspective. Like what happened with the CIDG when they issued a subpoena to Senator De La Rosa's office. Simple. Walang issue, walang problema. Pinadala lang. Ganun lang sana, Mr. President. I would not be remiss of anything. And definitely, I will not be guilty of obstruction of justice. Like, for example, in the case of Senator Trillanes, I was majority leader. And when he was holed up in his office for, I think, about 1, 2 days, 3 days. But when he was issued and he was showed the warrant of arrest, sumama siya. Binasahan siya ron mismo sa opisina niya eh. In the case of Senator De Lima, when the warrant of arrest came and she was here, ang pinakiusap lang niya, doon sa bahay siya arestuhin para kumahanda siya ng damit at makapagpaalam. Ganun lang eh. Dito naman sa Senate, alam naman natin yan. Oh, by the way, when I said coordinate with this OSAA, they know the rules. Yung pa ang binanggit ko. Exact wording ko yun, Mr. President. For the record, so that we can put this to rest already. Makapagtrabaho na tayo, kasaan na pupunta usapan.
Yeah, for clarity, former Senate President, one, I asking for a report, but I remember Senator De Lima stayed in her room for a few days before that. No, so the way that they're saying that surrendered right away is she was allowed to exhaust remedy. Now, as Senator Pia, Senator Lawrence, Senator Aimee, and Mark Villar were in the room with me, it was the NBI director who said, pinayagan kami ni Senator Soto, alam niya nga arestuhin namin. Kami ba iikot sa loob at mapapasok ba namin lahat ng tao? So I corrected him. I said, kung pinayagan man kayo, they're my witnesses, Senate President. So ang sinabi ko sa kanila, assuming pinayagan kayo ni Senator Soto, hindi naman siguro siya pumayag, makipaghabulan kayo, di ba? So yun ang sinabi. And sabi namin, ang sagot nga niya, sir, nakita niyo nung umabot na sa loob ng session hall, hindi na naming hinabol. So sabi ko, that doesn't make it less problematic. That means you have to stop, no? So, Senator Pia, you were there, so please feel free to speak.
For full disclosure, I asked him after it was established na nakipaghabulan hanggang dito. So sabi niya, ni NBI Director, sabi ko sa kanila, wag silang papasok sa session hall. Sabi ko, so ang instructions nyo is hanggang lang makapasok, hanggang dun lang sa pinto bago mag-session hall, hahabulin nyo? And then, medyo hindi niya na sinagot yun. So, that's what is the logical conclusion na hanggang tumungtong sa session hall, habulin nyo, gawin nyo, because I asked, what is your objective na i-serve yung warrant? Yes. So, may kasamang habulan. And basically, the answer seems to be yes.
And
he did say yes, but
and Major General
no.
Samonte said that at 2 p.m., the warrant of arrest was shown to former Senate President in the presence of undersigned, but copies were not allowed to be distributed. But consistent with the Senate President said, earlier this morning, NBI Chief Attorney Dongalo paid a call to the undersigned to coordinate an arrest order. As per agreement, the supposedly arrest should be effected when the warrant of arrest is presented as guidance of the former Senate President Vicente Soto. On or about 2 p.m., the warrant of arrest was shown to the former Senate President, the President undersigned, but copies were not allowed. So in the report kasi po, sir, ni Sergeant at Arms, the arrest was coordinated, not just the arrest warrant. That's why maybe the media, this was submitted during the session. Yes, but I clarified that I do not believe that the actual manner. So there are two issues, no? Was it coordinated, which they're saying that they're disputing that? Secondly, the manner in which they carried out the order. Senator...
Mr. President, just to put on record, the parliamentary status is that Senator Padilla made a manifestation and he is about to be interpellated by Senator Marcoleta. And so we thank the gentleman for allowing our colleagues to interject. But before we say something, Mr. President, I just wanted to add to what our colleagues mentioned dahil yung mga osaan natin na nagpapakamatay for the Senate institution, Mr. President, pakita natin sa kanila, Mr. President, that we are all out in defending them. Ako po, Mr. President, nandun mismo ako doon sa Senate clinic nung dinala yung OSAA personnel natin. Mr. President, bugbog sarado siya. Dito sa video, kuha mismo ng staff ko, Mr. President, kinukuha, sinakay, pinilit isakay doon sa sasakyan. Tapos umalis. Ito, duguan na po yung ating Senate OSAA. Kaya yung totoo yung sinabi ni Senator Migs, nakausap ko si Senator JB, nakausap ko si Senator Robin, nakausap ko si Senator Jinggoy, lahat po kami talagang nagpanting ho yung tenga namin dahil, Mr. President, ito yung tao ho natin to mga kasamahan natin na nagbabantay at ginagawa lang yung trabaho. Yun pong individual na ito, Mr. President, kakaisang buwan pa lang po niya dito sa Senado. Kakatapos lang ng training niya to be part of OSAA. And yet, Mr. President, ito yung naranasan po niya sa Senate premises, Mr. President. Kaya hindi lang po yung medical treatment ang aming hinihiling, Mr. President, pati ho legal, Mr. President, ibigay natin what we can do. Because, Mr. President, kung walang magpa-file ng kaso sa mga ito, ako mismo magli-lead to file cases against these people, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. President, and may we now recognize Senator Rodante Marcoleta for his interpellation. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you.
May I just state, Senator Padilla, so all of this is preliminary. An investigation is going on administratively, but yun nga, I urge the Committee on Rules to take charge so that we can get all of the facts, because apparently, even with just 24 senators, history repeats itself. I mean, there's been several senators arrested, attempted to be done here, and that's historical. Even during the first parliament, ginagawa ng mga hari-reyna yan, hinaharas minsan, or minsan legitimate. So anyway, thank you for bringing it up, and you have the floor, Senator Padilla.
Ginoong Pangulo, gusto ko lamang pong ibalita sa ating mga kasama na naging maganda po ang responde ng Commission on Human Rights sapagkat kaninang umaga po nakipagpulong sila sa atin at nakipagpulong po sila sa USAA at kay Senator Bato de la Rosa patungkol po sa nangyari na karahasan at pang-aabuso sa karapatang pantao ng ating mga kasama dito sa Senado. Pangalawa, gusto ko lamang din pong iparating sa ating mga taong bayan na magkakaiba po ang kaso ni Senator Trillanes at Senator De Lima sa kaso po ni Senator Bato. Dahil si Senator Bato, ang warrant po niya ay hindi galing sa Pilipinas. Ang warrant po niyan ay galing sa ibang bansa, sa isang dayuhang korte. Ito po ay malayo doon sa usapin na sila ang kustodiya po ni Senator De Lima at ni Senator Trillanes dito lang sa Pilipinas. Ito pong mangyayari kay Senator Bato ay dadalhin po sa ibang bansa. Medyo yung po pag-isipan nating mabuti. Dapat bang mangyari muli ang nangyari kay dating Pangulong Rodrigo Roa Duterte? Dapat bang mangyari pa yan muli sa isang Pilipino? Yun lamang po, sana alam natin ang pagkakaiba ng warrant galing sa Pilipinas at warrant sa isang korte lang ng ibang bansa. Yun po, maraming salamat po.
Point of order, Mr. President. Point of order, Mr.
We were going to recognize Senator Marcoleta, but this is a point of order,
Yes.
so we recognize Senator
Yes, Mr.
Pangilinan.
President, my understanding is this matter was already referred to the Committee on Rules. And any on all such manifestations should have been referred to the Committee on Rules.
Senator Pangilinan, Senator Lacson gave several privileged speech, even if the matter was already referred to the committee report.
I
So,
understand, Mr.
as a matter of tradition,
I understand, Mr.
we allow that.
Ginoong Pangulo, nilabas yung warrant of arrest kagabi lang, tapos na tayo dito.
Yeah.
I
Yes, that's why
understand.
this.
Na sinabi po na yung warrant of arrest ay tunay.
I understand, Mr. President, and therefore I'm appealing that perhaps this matter should be tackled in the committee rather than in this in plenary, so that we can address other concerns, Mr. President.
The appeal-
And
the
for the
appeal-
record, Mr.
Paano natin pag-uusapan yung ibang...
And for the record, Mr. President, I still have the floor. And for the record, Mr. President, we voted against resolution number 44. So to say that we have this resolution, yes, but there are senators who voted against it, and therefore it is not necessarily our agreement with the points being raised by the good senator from Camarines Norte.
For the record, Senator Padilla did mention a while ago that he doesn't take it against, and he acknowledges that some senators voted against it, and it's on the record. Having said that, the appeal is noted, but I just like to mention that we usually give each other leeway depending on the importance of the matter, and the threat to Senator Bato is live. There's been no official communication that he is free until a Philippine court issues a warrant of arrest. No? So I ask the patience of each member, but acknowledge the statement and the interpretation, the proper interpretation of the rules by Senator Pangilinan. So you
May
may
we ask
proceed,
Senator Marcoleta, Mr. President?
Yes, Senator Marcoleta,
He's
you're
been
now
waiting
recognized.
for quite a while.
Salamat po, Mr. President. Kahapon pa po ako naghihintay. Ang dami na po kasing nagsalita. Sana po kung sino naman yung nauna na nagsabi, pakiunan nyo naman po. Sa akin lang po, nagpo-point of order po tayo, pero tayo rin naman po nagbabiolate ng ating patakaran. Nangyari po kasi yung nangyari kahapon, Mr. President, sa unang kasaysayan, sa kasaysayan ng institusyong ito. Nakita ko po, Mr. President, kung paano ginawa ng mga NBI yung ating pasukan. Gumawa po sila ng checkpoint. Sa akin pong palagay, magmula po nung panahon ng Philippine Assembly, hanggang ngayon, wala pa pong nangyaring gano'n. Dahil po sa respeto sa tatlong dakilang nagkakahating bahagi ng ating pamahalaan, ang executive, legislative, at saka yung judiciary. Ngayon lamang po nagkaroon ng ganitong insidente kung paano niyurakan ang dangal ng institusyon na tayo pa po ang naririto. Mr. President, gusto ko po sanang magtanong ng ilang mga bagay sa ating kasama, sa kanyang mga tinuran na pangyayari, kaugnay po ng tangkang paghuli kay Senator Bato.
Ginoong Pangulo, mas maganda pong makatanggap tayo ng mga katanungan sa ating kasamang kahapon pa nag-aantay.
Yes.
Salamat po, Mr. President.
Please proceed unless you want to postpone that till tomorrow.
Mr. President, Your Honor, kanina po ay marami rin pong gustong magtanong sa akin ng mga miyembro ng press. Bagamat tinangka ko po na wag munang umarap sa kanila dahil minsan po, imbes na makapag-clarify ka, lalo pong dumadami po ang mga issues. Kaya ako na pong nagpilit na parang iniiwasan ko na po. Kaya lang, hindi mo po maiwasan. Sa dami po nila, talagang hahabulin ka po. Ang una po nilang tanong sa akin, Sir, ipa-aresto niyo po ba si Senator Bato? So sagot ko po, Mr. President, tanong din. Ikaw, kayo, gusto niyo ipa-aresto? Ang sagot sa akin, hindi po, kayong tinatanong namin kasi kayo po ang nandito. Hindi, tinatanong ka rin kita kasi Pilipino ka. Gusto mo bang makita ang isang senador na ibinoto ng sambayanang Pilipino? Aaresto sa loob mismo ng Senado? Hindi po. Okay, kung ikaw hindi, di lalo na ako. Kayo po ba'y na-interview rin ng gano'n?
Opo.
Sir President?
Nakakagulat po sapagkat ako po din mismo, mahal na kasama at idolo namin, Senator Marcoleta. Nagtataka din po ako sapagkat marami po sa mga tanong sa ating ibinabato. Parang tayo pa ay may kasalanan sa pagbibigay natin ng masasabing lugar sa ating kasama dito sa Senado. Samantalang meron naman po tayong adopted resolution number 44. Ako po'y nagtataka talaga bakit ang mga tanong ay para bang tayo ay harboring kagad ng kriminal.
Ginoong Pangulo, Your Honor, yung nangyari po kahapon, mas naniniwala po ako sa dating Pangulo natin, Senator Soto, sa kanyang sinabi. Nung tinanong ko po siya kahapon, habang nagmimerienda po tayo, nung tayo nakasuspindi pa, sabi ko, Mr. SP, nung pinuntahan ka ba ng NBI, pinakita sa'yo yung warrant of arrest? Nakita mo ba? Hindi, sabi niya. Ako po naniniwala na talagang hindi nila ipinakita yung warrant of arrest sa ating dating Pangulo ng Senado. Ang ating pong miyembro ng press, Mr. President, mahilig lang silang tanong ng tanong eh. Pero yung basic yun ang ayaw nilang tanungin eh. Halimbawa si Trillanes, winawagayway niya, ito ay kayong warrant of, ayaw man lang, bakit hindi nila suriin? Pwede po bang makakuha ng kopya niyan? Kasi po kahapon, Sir President, Your Honor, nung makausap natin ng NBI Director, pwede mo ba kaming bigyan ng kopya ng warrant of arrest? Pwede mo rin ba kaming bigyan ng communication between the ICC and the Interpol? Sapagkat ang Interpol, ang karaniwang ginagamit po nila para i-execute yung warrant ng kanilang in-issue. Yung namang Interpol, gagamitin po niya yung counterpart dito sa ating bansa, ito po yung PCTC. So sabi ko, bigyan mo rin kami ng communication mula sa Interpol papunta sa PCTC. At mula sa PCTC, meron silang sulat din sa inyo at kayo nga ang dineputize para i-serve yung warrant of arrest kay Senator Bato. Maliwanag po yung sagot niya, Mr. President, Your Honor. Opo. Gusto ko po sanang itanong, Mr. President, kung nag-comply na yung NBI Director na yung ating hinihingi ng mga communications para mapagtibay natin kung talagang meron ngang in-issue, kung totoo nga po na merong warrant of arrest at hindi lang ginawa sa claro em recto, para po lahat ay guided.
Yes.
Naibigay na po ba?
So number one, Senator Marcoleta, I apologize to you. You were present and in fact, you made very good points to the NBI Director. Number two, tama po kayo. He promised to officially communicate the warrant and I told him he is welcome to serve the warrant. The issue is the actual arrest. So I asked my staff as to my office, wala. To our secretariat, may na-receive ba tayo from the NBI? Wala pa.
So,
Yeah, wala pa.
Mr. President, Your Honor, doon lamang po sa simpleng requirement natin, dahil nung gabing yun, ang sabi niya, hindi lang niya dala, nasa sasakyan niya. So hindi na natin siya pinilit, dahil yung sasakyan niya nasa labas. Pero, Mr. President, Your Honor, alas 5 na po eh. Yung po bang mga requirements na yun, simpleng-simple po para matukoy lang natin kung talagang merong warrant of arrest. Bakit hindi po hanggang ngayon ay naibibigay ng NBI na sila pala, allegedly, ang dineputize ng kung sino-sino na iserve ang warrant of arrest sa ating kasama? Bakit po? O baka nga po wala eh. Ito yung pinaka-problema. Ang dami pong kumakalat na issue sa labas, tinatago raw natin, meron pa pong nagsabi, kung sino-sino na yung pagkup-kup daw po natin, yung ginamit natin, yung inadapt nating resolution number 44, sabi ni Trillanes, obstruction of justice. Yan po yung mga pinagsasasabi nila. Your Honor, alam niyo po ba yung statement ng Permanent Mission of the Republic of the Philippines sa United Nations noong 79th session of the UN General Assembly?
Ba, napakaganda po niyan. Mas maganda po, basahin niyo po sa amin.
Kasi hindi mo pa alam, di ba?
Opo.
Salamat po, Mr. President. Ito po kasi may kaugnayan sa pinag-uusapan natin eh. Ito pong 79th session of the UN General Assembly ay may kinalaman po sa pagde-define ng scope and application of the principle of universal jurisdiction. Ito po yung naganap, Mr. President, on October 16, 2024. Kasi po, bilang tayo po ay permanent member ng United Nations, tinanong po nila yung ating posisyon. Paano ang pagkakaintindi mo sa principle kanya and application of universal jurisdiction? Ang sabi po ng Pilipinas, Mr. President, Your Honor, kami po sabi niya the general rule is that jurisdiction is territorial. Universal jurisdiction is an exception grounded on the need to preserve international order. Tama naman po yun eh. Ang pinag-uusapan po na, sinite po ng ating gobyerno, Mr. President, yung Section 17 ng Republic Act number 9551. At sinasabi po nila doon, sabi po ng ating permanent mission, Section 17 of RA number 9851 specifically provides for the Philippine jurisdiction over persons, whether military or civilian, suspected or accused of a crime defined and penalized under Republic Act 1951, regardless where the crime is committed. Sa mga tweet, tayo na po ang nagsabi sa United Nations na tayo po yung merong jurisdiction. At sinama pa nga po yung Section 18 na kung saan ang Regional Trial Court po ang merong jurisdiction. Primary and exclusive jurisdiction. Kanina po, Mr. President, Your Honor, binanggit po ninyo, yung warrant of arrest kasi kanya galing sa korteng hindi sa domestic nanggaling. Nanggaling naman talaga raw sa ICC. Ipagpalagay na po natin, Mr. President, na totoo nga at hindi peke yung warrant of arrest. Kunwari valid. Ang sinasabi po ng ating batas, Mr. President, isasagawa mo lang ito sang-ayon or in accordance with the extradition laws and treaties obtaining in this country. Mr. President, wala po tayong extradition treaty sa ICC for the simple reason that ICC is not a country. Wala rin po tayong treaty sapagkat nag-withdraw na po tayo sa ICC. O paano niya po i-apply yung kanilang warrant of arrest? Ang jurisdiction po ay atin na. Mr. President, Your Honor, on May 10, 2026, ang ating kasama, Senator Bato, was served a subpoena by the CIDG for the alleged crime of EGK. Ano pong ibig sabihin nun, Mr. President? Yung pag-serve po ng-subpoena, na-operationalize na po, active na po yung kaso, kahit nasa investigative and prosecutorial stage pa lang, ibig sabihin, our National Prosecution Service is already actively on the case. Paano po papasok ang ICC? The core function of the ICC, Mr. President, is under the principle of complementarity. Ibig sabihin, kung meron pong local court na gumagawa na po ng kanilang tungkulin, wala na pong pakialam ang ICC. Nang nangyari po, aktibo na pong pinupurso ang kaso, allegedly, EJK sa ating kasamahan. Papasok pa uli ang ICC. Sarili po ba nilang prinsipyo ay kanilang babaliwalain? Papayag ka pa doon, Mr. President, Your Honor?
Ay, hindi po tayo dapat pumayag. At katunayan nga po, katulad po ng sinasabi ng ating ibang kasama na ito daw ating pinag-uusapan ay wala daw itong kwenta. Napaka-imposible po nun. Sapagkat itong ating pinag-uusapan, katulad po ng sinasabi ninyo, ay soberenya ito ng Pilipinas. Kung sa paniwala po nila, ay hindi. Pero sa paniwala po natin, sayang yung bandila na yan kung tayo po ay magpapasakop sa isang korte lamang na hindi naman isang bansa at uutusan tayo na isuko ang isang senador sa kanila.
Salamat po sa inyong sagot, Mr. President, Your Honor. At nung tinangka po nila na mag-serve daw ng di umano ay warrant of arrest, Mr. President, bakit po ang nagsisilbing process server ay si Antonio Trillanes?
Sheriff po siya ngayon yata ng ICC.
Meron po ba kayong impormasyon na si po ay naglilingkod na sa ICC o sa Interpol, Mr. President, Your Honor?
Siguro po, action speaks louder. May dala po siyang warrant o sheriff.
Kung totoo na meron siyang dalang warrant.
Yun po. Opo, pag napatunayan po na yun ay warrant of arrest, sheriff na po siya.
Kailangan pong malaman natin kung siya ay process server, sheriff, o deputized officer ng ICC o ng Interpol. At kailangan tawagin din po natin, Mr. President, ang representasyon ng Philippine Center for Transnational Crime sapagkat sila po yung counterpart ng Interpol. Pagka po bypass nila yung opisina na yun, maliwanag na maliwanag po, peki po yung warrant of arrest, Mr. President. At peki din po yung nagseserve ng warrant of arrest. Naniniwala po ba kayo?
Hanggat hindi po natin nakikita ang kopya na yan, lumalabas po na peki yan.
Mr. President, Your Honor, alam niyo po ba yung bilateral immunity agreement sa pagitan ng United States of America at ng ating bansa?
Alam ko po yan. Nasa Quran po yan.
Nasaan po?
Nasa Quran po.
Ang binabanggit ko po ay ang nasa paragraph 2 ng bilateral immunity agreement.
Kaya ko po sinabi nasa Quran dahil ang sabi po sa Quran, kapag yung bagay na hindi mo alam, itanong mo sa nakakaalam. Pakisabi po.
Hindi po. Tinatanong ko lang naman po kung alam ninyo kasi kung alam na ninyo, hindi na po ako magtatanong.
Hindi po. Kaya ipaalam nyo na po sa amin.
Ayan. Mr. President, ito pong sinasabi kong ito, may kinalaman na naman po kasi. Malaki ang kinalaman sa ating pinag-uusapan ngayon. Dito po kasi sa paragraph 2 nitong bilateral immunity agreement na ito na ginawa noong May 13, 2003, minsan po itawagin ito na non-surrender agreement. Sinasabi po rito na ang isang citizen ng isang partido, ibig sabihin ng Amerika, na nandito sa ating bansa, ay hindi mo pwedeng isurrender o i-transfer by means sa isang international tribunal for any purpose unless such tribunal has been established by the United Nations Security Council. Ano po ang ibig sabihin nun, Mr. President, Your Honor? Yung ICC po kasi, hindi po established international tribunal ng UN Security Council. Kaya nga po, kung mapapansin nyo, Mr. President, Your Honor, ang Amerika at saka ang Russia, hindi partido ng ICC. Wala silang, ayaw nila yan. Kinamumuhian nila yan. Dito po sa agreement na ito, tayo po, ang bansa natin, may katungkulan na hindi niya isusurrender ang isang Amerikano. Militar man yan, civilian, o no, nang walang consent yung Amerika. Ano po yung ironical implication nito, Mr. President? Tayo po pumayag sa pagitan ng kasunduang ito na ipagmamalasakit natin ang isang Amerikano na nandito sa ating bansa, hindi siya pwedeng i-transfer o surrender sa ICC sapagkat yan ay hindi recognized ng UN Security Council. Pero tayo, senador, Pilipino, meron siyang mandato sa ating mga mamamayan. Hindi ba kabalintunaan ito, Mr. President, Your Honor?
Opo, tama po kayo. Yan po ay ibinoto po yan ng taong bayan. Katulad po ni Senator Bato, 20 million po ang bumoto dyan.
Kaya ko lang po tinatanong, Mr. President, hindi ko po lubos na maisip, tayo pala kaya nating ipagtanggol ang hindi isang Pilipino, kahit hindi Pilipino, dahil lamang nakipagkasunduan tayo. Pero sarili nating kapwa Pilipino, may mandato sapagkat nagsisilbing senador ng ating bansa. Hindi natin kayang ipagtanggol. Ito po yung irony na napakahirap siguro natanggapin ng bawat isang Pilipino. Tama po kayo eh. Ang warrant of arrest po ay galing sa ICC. Ang kaso po ni Senator Trillanes ay iba sapagkat ang nag-issue ng warrant of arrest ay sarili nating korte na kailangang igalang. Ganon din po ang warrant of arrest na inisyo kay dating Senador Laila de Lima. Pero ito'y natatangi po eh. Kung totoo po na yun, ay talagang totoong warrant of arrest. At yun ay nakabase sa saligan mismo, ang Rome Statute. Bakit hindi muna nila unang basahin, Mr. President, yung Article 59 ng Rome Statute, na kung saan sinasabi ron, yung aarestuhin mong tao, kailangan madaliin mong ilagak sa isang competent judicial authority ng custodial state. Ano ang custodial state? Yung ating bansa. Bakit po kailangan yon? Maski ang ICC, kinikilala niya yun. Dahil meron pong mga prosesong dapat na mapagtibay. Una, kailangan malaman natin kung yung warrant of arrest aplikable doon sa tao na yun. Dito lang, sa pinag-uusapan natin, hindi aplikable kay Senator Bato. So meron siyang recourse para questionin yung warrant of arrest. Kaya importante na ilagak mo siya sa isang competent judicial authority. Ang isa pang kinakailangan mong maisaalang-alang doon, Mr. President, Your Honor, ay kailangan yung proseso ay naigalang lahat. At lalong-lalo na yung kanyang karapatan ay talagang nasino. Yun po yung inihingi noon eh. At ang isa pa po, meron siyang karapatan na magpetisyon kung sakaling yung custodial state na yon ay i-detain yung naaresto, na magpetisyon ng immediate release or provisional release. Lahat ng ito ay hindi magagawa, Mr. President, Your Honor, kung kikilalanin natin yung warrant of arrest na valid sa ating jurisdiction. Meron po siyang katapat na batas eh. Meron tayong local na batas, RA 9851, na humahatol at nagbibigay parusa sa mga ganun ding mga kasalanan na siya din naman ang nililitis ng ICC. So sa prinsipyo po ng complementarity, Mr. President, maliwanag na maliwanag po na nasa jurisdiction na po ng ating lokal na mga hukuman ang pag-aasunto kung meron ng basihan sa ating kasama. Hindi na dapat kilalanin yung ICC sapagkat ang batayan lang nila ay yung tinatawag na principle of complementarity. Malinaw po na nangunguna po, may primary po jurisdiction ang ating lokal na korte. Exclusive and primary jurisdiction, yun po importante. Ngayon, yung pong mga nagkukunwa na process server, nagkukunwa na sheriff, nagkukunwa kung ano man sila ng ICC, kung bayaran sila o hindi, dapat po tingnan muna nila lahat yung mga bagay na pinag-uusapan natin. Bago nila puntahan ang isang institusyon katulad nito, nahahabulin pa yung isa sa atin. Ang pangyayari po kahapon, uulitin po natin, Mr. President, kailanman po ay hindi nangyari sa kasaysayan ng institusyong ito. Tinanong ko pa nga po kahapon sa ating director ng NBI dahil pinipilit niya. Kaya po nung papunta na, kung makakapasok po si Senator Bato sa session hall, ay wag nyo na siyang tutugisin. Para bang ang parte lamang ng Senado, Mr. President, ay itong session hall. So nung tinanong ko, bakit po yung parking area namin na kung saan nagsimula ang habulan, at saka yung mga hagdanan ay hindi ba parte ng institusyong ito? Sir, sabi niya, hindi naman po kami magiging ganito kung hindi po kami nakipag-coordinate. Hindi po ako naniniwalang nakipag-coordinate sila ng totohanan, Mr. President. Mas naniniwala po ako sa ating former President na hindi niya papayagan kung alam lamang niya ang kanilang balak na pagdakip at pamamaraan ng pag-iinsulto sa bulwagang ito, Mr. President. Maraming salamat po, Your Honor.
Maraming salamat po. Madam President? Madam President? Opo.
Senator Padilla, please proceed. Yes.
Opo. Meron lang po akong mga konting katanungan sa inyo. Sapagkat gusto ko po sanang ireklamo si Senator Pangilinan sa pagsigaw. Meron po ba sa rules natin na sinasabing pwede mong sigawan ng kapwa mo senador?
Narinig ko yung malakas na boses ni Senator Kiko Pangilinan. Alam ko na si Senator Pangilinan ay dating galing sa broadcasting, baka nag-modulate. Maari po ba tayo ay mag-suspend muna para pag-usapan yung malakas na boses at wari pagsigaw ni Senator Pangilinan?
Excuse me, nasa akin po yung floor.
Senator Padilla has the floor. The chair is answering the question of Senator Padilla. Session is suspended. Session is resumed. Earlier, Senator Padilla had a floor, but we had discussed it, and we thank Senator Padilla and Senator Pangilinan for understanding each other. In the meantime, we would adjourn session unless there's
If
any...
I may, Madam President.
Yes,
if I
Majority
may,
Leader.
Madam President. Madam President, we have tackled enough for today, and so may I respectfully move that we adjourn the session until 3 o'clock in the afternoon of Wednesday, May 13, 2026. So move, Madam
Is
President.
there any objection? Hearing none, session is adjourned until 3 o'clock, Wednesday, May 13, 2026. Thank you.